Thanks, Bongani. In other news, tomorrow will be 6 years since the Marikana Massacre. South Africa will remember again. A commemoration ceremony was held by Lonmin to remember the 44 who died during a violent strike on the 16th of August 2012, and of course in the days leading up to that tragedy. And today a new independent report was released by the Institute for Security Studies. We're joined by SABC reporter Nozintombi Miya, who was at the release of that report. Welcome to you. And how does it change what we know about Marikana?
Well, this new independent report, in as much as the report is new, it's based on evidence and information that was submitted during the Farlam Commission. So it's not necessarily new information. What has happened is that the Institute of Security Studies, as well as the researchers, have gone back with a fine-tooth comb to look at what the evidence was that was presented before the Farlam Commission and what the disparities have been since the actual physical evidence that was presented, the findings of the Commission, and what has happened since the findings of the Commission. So that's what's quite important about this particular report. It has gone back to the Marikana findings. It's also gone back to the evidence, and it's said these are some of the disparities that we have picked up.
And it also takes us, so on that day there were cameras rolling, so as the South African public we saw a certain portion of what happened. But claims have been made since that police went after unarmed striking mine workers. Some were shot execution style at another scene behind the glare of cameras. What does this report reveal about that second scene?
So what has been really critical for the Farlam Commission, as well as the investigators, as well as the police, what has been most important for them to make clarity on is that there were two scenes. There was scene one. Scene one was where the world saw the police shooting at the miners. And it was at that scene where it is believed that the striking mine workers initially shot at the police, and the police retaliated by shooting back at them. There's also a school of thought that the police shot at the miners thinking it was the miners shooting at them, but actually it was their colleagues from the other side. What Judge Ian Farlam has said is that further investigation needs to happen in terms of who initially shot at whom, beyond what we saw, which is the police shooting at the miners. That was at scene one. At scene two, now this is where it gets really interesting. At scene two, there were no police, there were no cameras. We saw from the witness reports and from the police reports that most of the miners, all of the 70 miners that were shot, had bullet wounds from the back. This indicated that they were running away from the police. Therefore, they were not shooting at the police. They were running away from the police, and they had their hands up in surrender. Therefore, the police shot at those 17 defenseless miners who were not shooting at the police. And it goes back to what Judge Ian Farlam says in his self-criticism of the official findings of the Marikana report, that more investigation needs to happen in terms of scene two, because we only relied on what the police reports were. There was no independent person to corroborate what the police findings were at scene two.
So this is yet more evidence, another suggestion that there were extrajudicial illegal killings by police officers. Why no serious attempt by prosecutors to go after those police officers yet?
Now, what Judge Ian Farlam said, he to a large extent was at this particular report findings to try and defend the final findings that he and his colleagues, Judge Tokota and Hemraj, had eventually tabled as the final Marikana findings. He tried to explain this by saying that they were very limited in how they could make recommendations and findings, and they were limited by the terms of reference. The terms of reference said, look at who the guilty parties are, identify the guilty parties, and make recommendations on what the steps should be, not to make recommendations necessarily about criminal proceedings that need to happen. That's why within the Marikana findings, Judge Ian Farlam had said that he recommends that the NPA as well as IPA do further investigation in terms of the police officers who are considered the triggermen, the police officers that shot at the 34 miners. More investigation needs to happen in terms of who those police officers, to link the different bullet casings to the different guns, to the individual police officers' guns, to say this police officer shot at this particular miner. he is responsible for the death of that minor. He needs to be held criminally liable. So now the ball is in the court of IPID as well as NPA to say, we have done these investigations, we need X amount of time to do further investigations to be able to actually come up with a clear picture of what happened at scene 1 and scene 2 and which bullets are linked to which bodies, unfortunately.
And that has to happen quickly, so maybe a priority for the new National Prosecuting Authority.
Undoubtedly.
We have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Nozintombi Miya, SABC reporter. Bongani.